We all want to change the world, somebody said. But who's going to do the changing? And what kind of person is that? Because, sometimes trying to do things for others, you just end up making things 1,000 times worse. So therefore, you've got to be careful. First of all, to check yourself and your motivations and your abilities. So that means already a kind of moral examination of oneself is necessary before you can be let loose in the world. After all, even trainee doctors, medicine is a wonderful thing. Great healing and relief of suffering can be brought about by doctors, but doctors need the real good training. Of course, if that trainee doctor on the very first night in the hospital meets somebody who's fallen over, they should definitely pick them up, even though they're not fully qualified. So from the get-go, we should be thinking, as Buddhist practitioners, our aim is to serve other beings. But to be able to do so very well, very effectively, and to make a really big positive difference, one needs to be a person of exceptional qualities, who's really developed exceptional wisdom and compassion. After all, if we don't know how things work, we're going to make the wrong choices and wrong diagnoses and wrong prescriptions for people. And if we haven't overcome our own resentment and feelings of insecurity, emotionally and so on, then we're going to probably act with anger and greed towards other people rather than compassionate. So as we'll go around blundering our way around the world, creating a trail of destruction. So that's why Dharma insists on inner moral reform as a prerequisite for effective work in the world. That's to put it in a nutshell. So, for instance, Buddha's example. Let's think about Buddha himself. When asked by monarchs in northern India and also by the Shakyan Republic, when asked for advice, he gave it. He gave that advice. But this was Buddha, the awakened one, who'd already awakened to the true nature of reality by his own efforts, by his own practice, by his own reflection. And therefore, one could be sure his advice was reliable and trustworthy and helpful. So what I'm trying to say is Buddha didn't disappear into some private nirvana, private space, with no concern for the world, but he was much more effective in benefiting the world precisely because he had gone through that inner moral and spiritual journey. So that's, I think, how we should conceptualize this. But like I say, even if you're still on the first steps of your inner moral reformation, you can't ignore those around you. When they fall over, you should definitely pick them up. You should make that cup of tea for the thirsty person who wanders into your kitchen. But you've got very important work to do in terms of developing the capacity to really benefit others. And therefore, actually, even when you're studying or practicing privately, you're actually serving others. Not directly, but in both your intentions and in the fact that you're cultivating the capacity to truly help them. So your practice is never, if you're a Mahayana practitioner at least, your practice is never private and unconnected and disconnected and self-centered. It's always for the benefit of others. It's just that you're realistic about what way you can be beneficial to others. So it's not an either or, this question. It's more like be skillful, be honest. And then you'll see that the general Buddhist emphasis on inner reform as being the necessary foundation for outer work is absolutely the only one that works.